I love you.
Welcome back, Couch Potatoes. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leon. I don't claim to be from anywhere, but this is a podcast about movies and TV.
Did you just spontaneously exist?
As far as they know, you know.
dude, the UFO secrets have been released. United States put forth their...
Oh, I do need to go read those.
I mean, it's pointless. Basically, it comes down to, of all of the instances but one that we know about of UFOs, we have no explanation. So we're good. We're good. I thought they would reveal that they knew something about Gorsh and our home people, but apparently they're
not ready for that, I guess.
Yeah, not enough people have noticed the podcast for the government to care about us yet.
That's right. Yeah. We'll see if we get shut down. I'm done about the jokes, though. I mean, what's that?
You got that VPN, though? Did you protect yourself?
What does that stand for?
You're supposed to protect yourself, remember? We talked about this the last time we recorded. Oh, man.
Oh, you mean my VIPNA? You want me to get a VIPNA?
Now, Faceless... The government is still actively looking for us, even if they haven't noticed us. They're like,
oh, well.
Get the VIPNA.
Take me out to the living room. Take me out to my chair. I don't remember the rest of the song. I didn't take the time to write this one. I'm winging the faceless pitch. So this episode's about a TV show. I guess
that
we
is
usually
correct.
Talk about that, yeah. But talking about strange things that actually happen in the world, we're talking about Lovecraft Country. And,
yes,
yeah. But I like to, when we talk about TV, to talk about the other TV that I watch rather, because otherwise I don't get to talk
TV
about
I talk about.
So the first one, our first pitch, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are up to bat. Both of them. They're just going to stand on the other side of the plate and takes turns bunting out the perfect jokes until they hit a homer every scene. So Grace and Frankie. I guess that's the pitch. It's freaking awesome. So we also have Sam Waterston and Martin Sheen, and they're just all four of them together make a wonderful team. And so the plot of this story: Grace and Frankie, being Jane and Lily, they're kind of in a throuple situation, but they're not. They don't really like each other. It's just because their husbands work together and are best friends. And anyhow, they decide, the husbands, to come out to their wives of 40 years that they are in a relationship together. So yeah, it really, destroys Grace and Frankie's world. Grace, because she feels like she's this high society person, and all of a sudden she's a part of this big scandal. And Lily, Frankie that is, because she's really in love with her husband, Soul, who is played by Sam. And it's a really heartfelt comedy. Like, sometimes you're kind of worried about where they're going with something, but then they'll bring it about to be like, oh, okay, that's actually a really healthy choice that they made. But sometimes they don't make healthy choices because that's drama. But it's a great comedy. And I highly recommend it.
I'd definitely take a swing at that. It definitely sounds interesting. I know you've... I can't remember if... I don't think you've pitched it before, but I do believe you've mentioned it to me many times.
Yeah, it's 6 seasons long so far on Netflix. So it did take me a little bit of time to watch it.
That sounds like it'd take me about maybe 6 years to watch that. So I'll try. Maybe someday.
Someday. I mean, they're short. It's a sitcom time slot, so 30-minute episodes.
Nice.
Some of them might be a couple minutes longer than that because, Netflix likes to take that liberty.
And let them. I'm okay with them taking that liberty.
I'm totally good with that. I think that art should be what it is. And if that takes a certain amount of time, then it should take that amount of time.
Well, it's like with comic books, like the industry is so honed that it's just, I think they just changed the page number limit for DC Comics again from like 21 to 38 or something like that. But when you make every single story 21 pages long, sometimes you can definitely tell that the author's like, all right, I came up with a story that was 17 pages long, so we're just going to toss 4 pages in there where there's just a bunch of action and no dialogue just so we can throw in some meat and just get this out there. I like that Netflix has that floating time length because it's just sometimes the writers just they come up with something that's 38 minutes and it's like, I'm sorry, I can't trim this.
It's like there's nothing to trim here. And usually there isn't. I mean, I think that their TV shows typically, I think they're pretty good. There's obviously ones that just aren't made for me.
Right.
That they don't quite hit the same. But the things that I get interested in, like the period dramas that they do, are pretty good. At the very least, I liked the Marco Polo series that only got 2 seasons, unfortunately. And there's other ones like that. But here's a curveball. Also a period piece. But this docudrama called Age of the Samurai Battle for Japan. So, let's put this in baseball terms because that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Best of luck. Best of luck.
Yes, lots of blood. Yes.
No, I said best.
Out.
I said best of luck.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Okay. So, we'll say this. In medieval Japan, the country was was split up into it was 100 years at least of civil war happened during the Middle Ages. And so we'll say that it was kind of like a baseball league where they had all these different daimyos, which we'll call baseball teams. Okay?
Nice.
And so the manager of the Odo clan, let me pull up the cast list here so I actually have names in front of me. So they switched the names around on me, I think. Because, okay, so in the Japanese culture, the surname comes first. And I guess it's just been long enough since I've watched the show that it's confusing me because I think they put the personal name before the surname, and so I'm really confused. But anyhow, I believe it's Oda Nobunaga. He, head of the Oda clan, decides that he wants to take out some of the other teams. So basically, he's expanding the franchise, right? And he starts really getting some steam over, and he's got a huge team all of a sudden. And then there's betrayal and
fighting,
and some fighting. There's a lot of fighting, and there's gunpowder too. So it's a different game than baseball, really. So
I had said infighting, like within his army, yes. They're all fighting together.
Yeah, there was one. So he had a penchant of killing Buddhists. He didn't like Buddhists for some reason.
Man.
And some of the people in his higher ups, like his generals and stuff, were devout Buddhists. So eventually they got tired of his cruelty, and one of the guys assassinated him and tried to take control.
That's what you do.
But another one of his guys, and I gotta tell you, man, this threw me so hard, them switching the names around. But Hideyoshi Tokutomi, and I'm pretty sure I said that name wrong. He was a peasant, and he rose to be one of the highest generals in Nobunaga's ranks.
Nice.
And he decides to come back around and kick out this other guy I was talking about. And he's the one who actually managed to reunite all of Japan.
Oh, nice.
But after he died, his son was a little bit young, and he named 5 regions, and they all, end up fighting it out for what happens. But that is the game of
Thrones?
Age of the Samurai Battle for Japan. So what did you think of that one? It was real sloppy, I know. They're going to love this one.
Oh, man. I like it. That's kind of... I love that kind of shit. That's... I like history. I like period pieces, like you said. It sounds like it would be interesting, but I don't know. How long is it? How many episodes?
There's 6 episodes.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. But some of them are a little over an hour long. But there's, it's narrated. You have historians talking, and then you also have dramatized scenes. And the actors, especially the one who plays Oda Nobunaga, actually all 3 of the shoguns that they portray really do a great job.
I mean, I'd definitely take a swing at it. A couple years ago, I read, I think you would like it, but it's a very long and kind of white romanticized novel, but it's Shogun by James Clavell. And it's about
I've actually been interested in that. I think you recommended it to me before.
Yeah, it's really good historical novel, and it's kind of like a romance where this white guy and his crew, their ship wrecks on a shogunate, Japan, and he kind of works his way into being an advisor with a guy who is I think on his way to shogun. Like, he wasn't a shogun in the novel, but he's trying to become a shogun. Or it might be right before the shogun era too. So like it might
So it might be talking about these characters.
Yeah, like I think some of that sounded definitely similar. I think everything is fictionalized in the book, but it's all based off of the real world events.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and he falls in love with a Japanese woman, of course, and there's some weird white savior like stuff, but I really enjoyed the novel and I learned a lot from it, and so I think I would give that show a swing. It sounds interesting enough for me.
Let me ask you, this character, this white character, is he Portuguese? Do you remember?
I believe he was. I really can't remember. I know they play off of the. I know they play off of the religion aspect and the racism among white sailors. If he was Portuguese, I remember he hated the other race that they were fighting at the time. Well, not race, but you know what I mean.
The other nationalities.
Yeah, I can't remember who they were all against at the time, but I know that all comes into play in the novel, and it's I like history, so I'm on board for that.
Cool. There is one detriment that I would say to this story, and I don't think that it's really at fault to the producers or anyone else, but a lot of the historians were white. There were a few Japanese and Eastern Asian people telling the story, but the majority of them were white historians. And, that they can't help it that that's what they chose to learn and to teach. However, I would have liked to seen more of this story told from the people who are of the culture, who then learned of the past of the culture. I would prefer to see that, I think, a little bit more. Yeah. But given the great performances by all the people in the dramatized scenes and everything, the production value, I think it was all great.
I agree with you. I think that would be a better choice if they had made that choice to go with Japanese historians. But I'll still give it a swing. I won't let it detract me.
Cool.
What's your last one?
My last one is Marvel's MODOK. So nice. They gave MODOK a show, and who knew that would happen? Apparently Patton Oswalt did, and he plays MODOK in this Robot Chicken style comic book story, and it's really just all about family. So,
Aw, nice.
yes, we have
So's Fast and the Furious.
So's Fast and the Furious just all about family. So we have Jody, his wife. Yes, I believe Jody's his wife and Melissa's his daughter. If I'm wrong, the internet can hate me. I guess I don't care. We have Jody, his son Lou, and his daughter Melissa. And Jody is a regularly proportioned human being, and his daughter has the big head that MODOK is classically known for. If you don't know, MODOK sits in a floaty chair that supports his head, which is it's like Humpty Dumpty, really.
It's massive.
Yes, and he's massive, and then his arms they're just regular arms and legs that just dangle there. So his daughter Melissa is the same way. And it's really just about their dynamic, and Jody realizing how selfish MODOK is. He's still trying. He's a supervillain, if I didn't stress that. He's still trying to take over the world. Excuse me. He's trying to expand his franchise. That's not a baseball thing. But his team, AIM, they're not doing too well. So he decides to also sell ownership to Grumble. So, but they're like, Grumble lets them keep their name. Grumble's like a technology conglomerate kind of thing, led by Austin Vandersleet. Excuse me, and it's three words, Vandersleet, and it's all great. I'm sure I can mention the actors, like Lou's played by Ben Schwartz, and
nice.
Amy Garcia plays Jody, and Melissa Fumero plays Melissa. So it's really funny. I just realized that John Hamm was Iron Man, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff with like the Avengers, but it's mostly like jokes that they tell the people at AIM with MODOK, and he's like, "Hey, that's not funny." But MODOK, mechanized organism designed only for killing. That's what it supposedly stands for. But
right.
I'm pretty sure in the show, the joke was it's mechanized organism designed for killing. Like they leave out the only, and it was really throwing me the whole time. I was like, that can't be what it stands for. You guys.
So I guess I have a question. Is it tied to the MCU or is it standalone by itself? I'm
pretty sure it's standalone by itself, but it is very much like it's got a Rick and Morty feel with, like super funny sci-fi shit going on, but yet there's just family drama going on.
Nice.
And yeah, so I think I mentioned that Jody realizes MODOK is a selfish person, but I don't think I mentioned that she decides that she wants to have a divorce. And so really the story is about MODOK trying to balance this new family situation with his work situation and still take over the world. Jesus.
That's heavy.
But it's good.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna swing at it. It's definitely a fastball right down the middle. Nice. But I don't know. I've been back in the struggle bus in regards to watching television. I got through what we're about to talk about, Lovecraft Country, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start the next one. And I looked at our schedule and realized we don't really have much of a spot for TV talks in a while. And I'm like, it's all right. I don't need to watch television. So I've gotten back to being bad at watching television, where the thought of doing it is like, I could put it off. And like nighttime rolls around, I have nothing else to do, and I'm like, I could watch television right now.
Yeah. Or
I could do this other thing, and then I just do the other thing.
Hey, you know what though? I think that's okay. I mean, I love TV. I know you love it too, somewhere deep down in your heart. But it's okay to make the healthy choice to do something other than television.
But it's not always a healthy choice. Sometimes it's just like, I'm just going to watch YouTube, and I'll just watch like 3 hours of YouTube videos, and I'm just like, well, that was still a waste. But it all boils down to like, I think I would be much better suited to watch television if I did have somebody in the apartment with me, and it wasn't just me and Zelda. Because when it's me and Zelda, I just like, I don't know, I don't want to set 40 minutes aside to watch something. And it's like, I can just set 10 minutes aside and then take her outside if she wants to go out for a walk or something.
Right. You get to move your legs and shit. I totally get that. And that's why the faceless pitch exists. Even if I forget to write something for it, and it's like this.
I don't think they noticed at all. It was
don't think they noticed? Okay.
Smooth as butter. It was beautiful. Well done.
All right. Just like every single episode we've ever produced.
Exactly. We're professionals. We're on the fucking ball on this and moving along beautifully. And if you want to support our journey to professionalism, you can go to our Patreon page. Do you have that URL for them?
I do. It's patreon.com/greenandfaceless. And there you can check out our marvelous benefits like some merch, but mainly you get to vote for our monthly potato pick episode where the couch potatoes, your higher tiered couch potatoes, they get to recommend, but everyone who's a patron gets to vote. This coming one, I don't think we even know what this coming one is. This episode might be after.
Yeah, I think there's a couple weeks still until the next voting, but that power, just like think about that power.
Yeah, it's power. It's power over us.
Yeah, it is. If you have enough of that power to vote on or to create what we watch, just think about the garbage you can send our way. But even if you don't want to give us that much power, if you just want to have a tiny bit of power and have that, that ability to vote, you can still troll us. There can still be some bad choices in there. So just think about that. Think about that beautiful. Not all of you are trolls either. Some of you want to, vote from the benefit of your own self, hear what we say about your loved movies.
It's $2 a month to have a vote. That is the bare minimum. And that's
not bad at
50
all.
cents a show. If you think our show's worth 50 cents, give us a call.
That sounds totally right to me. Give us 50 cents for our 2 cents.
That's right. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Let's put that on a t-shirt.
There we go. But yeah, let's move along to the main event, shall we?
And another thing, if I may interject. If you're listening, just give us a follow or a subscribe. It really helps us, find more people to listen to the show. Or better yet, rate us or review us on Apple Podcasts. That'd be great.
Indeed.
We love you.
Yeah, that'd be very beneficial. And we always love constructive criticism or feedback.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
So let's move along to the main event, which is Lovecraft Country, as we mentioned.
Dun, da, da, da.
Yeah, it took me probably 2 months to get through this one. It's not, in my opinion, a very good bingeable show because it's kind of episodic. Like every single episode seems to be following a new sci-fi styled idea, and that's great.
Also, still every episode matters to the every bit of it is a puzzle piece. So I don't know. Yeah. Also, though, like the horror of it, I think keeps it from being bingeable too. And it's not just like the run of the mill horror. It's also race horror. Racial. Yeah. So it does build that tension in your heart and soul a little bit. Right. So that might keep it from being a bingeable show, but that by no means do I think is a detriment to the show. I think the show all around is pretty well rounded. There's some rough edges actually, so that doesn't quite make sense together. But I think I really enjoyed the show as a whole, is what I should say.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it too. I don't know. It was hard for me, not just because of the obvious, the social aspects. Because again, it's a period piece. It's set during the 1960s, right, or the 1950s.
I'm pretty sure it's the 50s. It's during the Korean War.
Okay, so the 50s, around then. Yeah, and so I really liked that because they do that so well. There's a lot of really, really, good set pieces, and all of the tension of that time period is like really well displayed and focused on. And I love that, especially because it's named Lovecraft Country. It's based off of ideas from H.P. Lovecraft, who was a racist author. And, that's one of the hardest things about it is being a horror fan. I love H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Right.
But those aspects are really hard to get through at times. And I really like the idea of somebody taking that and repurposing it, making those ideas mean more and focusing on them in a completely different light. And I really enjoyed that aspect of this.
Really powerful characters in this film. All the characters really are, I love them. Some of them take a while to grow on you, particularly was the Montrose. He does take a while to really develop. The father character.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm really bad with the character names because I remember the main ones that I really touched upon, but I didn't touch upon his until like the last 2 episodes, probably.
Right.
Probably
it
the last
took
3
a really
episodes.
long time for him to be an enjoyable character. I liked the tension between him and the main character, Atticus, his son,
Tick,
played by Jonathan Majors.
Fun fact about Jonathan Majors: he is the actor cast as King the Conqueror from Marvel's cinematic universe. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see him. Yeah, and we're currently watching Loki. That TV show is currently going on. So there's some nice little King the Conqueror hints spread in that show that I'm like, it's making me excited because I just watched Jonathan Majors in Lovecraft Country. So I'm like, oh man, he's really good in this show. Like he is
super good. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
The acting and the chemistry, all of it is just super great. You definitely get the feeling that this community feels that each other are family. So, okay, I guess, we never really talked about the plot yet. So it's kind of hard because it's fucked up and twisted.
It's based on a novel by Matt Ruff, which I immediately after finishing the show bought that novel. So it's on my to read list, my bookshelf to read. But I've heard there's some differing bits from the show, but everything is I don't know. I'm really excited to read it because I really like the show. Awesome. But it really is so hard to describe it. But it's mainly about Tick going across 1950s United States to find his father, who has just like disappeared. I mean, he's disappeared in an area that I don't know. I think it's not called Lovecraft Country, but it's like where Lovecraft based his stories off of.
Right. Or he was there. I don't know. I don't exactly know why they nicknamed it Lovecraft Country. But
I can't remember either.
They are fans of the literature, though. Tick, his uncle and family. They love reading.
Uncle George.
Yeah, Uncle George is the best. Uncle George comes and search for Montrose with Tick. And Letty comes along too, right?
Yeah.
Letitia Lewis, played by Journey Smollett. She's awesome, by the way. I want to see her in way more stuff.
She was the Black Canary, and
she was? Okay. Yeah,
the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie.
I think they could have focused more on the Birds of Prey, like make the characters better. But I did enjoy that movie.
I just don't remember it, but I do remember seeing her in it. But her in this she is phenomenal in this. Like, I like Tick, but in my opinion, he's so overshadowed by Letty. Cause
you think so?
I don't know. For me, I love her story. I like everybody's story, but Letty is just like, I attach myself immediately to her. Like, I want to see her.
Awesome. Like, so I don't know if it was her introductory scene or not, but there's this scene very early on where she comes up on stage to sing with her sister, Ruby Baptiste, played by Wonmi Mosaku. And she also, I'll say it, brilliant. She's awesome. Especially with her plot that deals with Christina Braithwaite. I think that's all I'll say for that. That shit is awesome.
Yeah.
Great storytelling there.
And wildly disturbing in regards to special effects. They do some crazy special effects for her specific bit of the story for this show. And man, it is so like wonderfully explored, like how they look into the idea behind what's going on, because I don't want to spoil anything, because I do recommend watching it. But every time you see that effect happen, it was so unnerving that it was so well done. But like every time it happened, I was just immediately grossed out, just like, oh my God, I'm gonna vomit.
And because it's like, so like you mentioned earlier, these are episodic, so there's one episode that it's like almost exclusively about that. But because it's important to the plot, it just keeps on happening. So this effect is throughout the show. It is very disturbing, but also, so good. And there's some super satisfying moments with it. Oh, man.
And it also seemed like the entire show's purpose was like, we have to outdo the last episode, because it's just like, you know, the next episode was so much crazier in regards to sci-fi elements, that it just kept getting weirder and weirder until you got to the I Am Hippolyta episode, which was I think that was my favorite episode of the entire season.
I really think so too. Either that one or the episode where Jamie Chung is the main character, in Korea. I think that one was really good too. Those are my favorite too, for sure.
That's the thing about this show is, like, you know, you start off, like, episode 1 kind of starts off feeling like it's going to be mostly Tick and Uncle George. Right. And, you know, they seem like the bigger characters that are going to be focused on. But by the end, the women, like, all of them have just so much more powerful stories that are just so well developed, that by the end, it really is just all about them. Like, who fucking cares about Tick and Uncle George and the father?
The payoff for Montrose and Tick, though, dude, that shit's good.
It is really beautiful. And, I mean, there is a lot about, you're right, with Tick and the father, and I did definitely cry at a time for their story.
Oh, yeah.
But, I don't know. Letty, man, I'm all aboard her journey. Like, that was great.
It's all good. And, you know, I think they could have done a little bit more with Ruby and Letty than they did. They kind of like they have a falling out pretty early on, and their stories become very separate until the end. And I felt like they could have done a little bit more between them, because they're half sisters, and that has a lot of resentment built between them because of that. And I just think that could have been more interesting to delve into.
Right. And Letty's also not the most loyal of people. Like, she does so many things that are kind of just really rude to Ruby. So it's just like, you see where Ruby's coming from with the resentment that you're talking about. Whereas with Letty, you're always kind of like, come on, you can be better than that. Like, because you know she can be. You've seen her in these serious moments where she's been a much better person, and she's always trying to be a better person.
But selfishness definitely is her tragic flaw.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah, it plays out great.
My main issue with the story is being somebody who just can't binge a show, and how this show is, in my opinion, not really bingeable. It's so hard to remember what happened. I mean, they have a previously, you know, it's like it's produced by J.J. Abrams, like it's Bad Robot Productions and Monkey Paw Productions, which is Jordan Peele. So both of them came together to produce this show.
I didn't know that. I love it even more because of it. I mean,
It's really well backing, and the showrunner, to give her credit, is Misha Green. An amazing job. You know, this really well laid out story. But my only issue is, going back to it, you know, sometimes it would take 3 or 4 days. Like, something would happen in one episode that would be very upsetting to me, and I would struggle to watch the next episode because, a character died or whatever. Spoiler alerts, characters die.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. But like, that would happen, and I would be like, no, that was one of my favorite characters. What the fuck? And so I would wait for 4 days or so before watching the next episode. And when I would start it, I would watch the previously and be like, I'm not sure if I really remembered that. And so, and like even thinking back on it now, it's been like probably 2 or 3 weeks since I finished it, and I remember what I liked. I remember how it makes me feel, which is really well motivated. obviously I enjoy it, but there's so much of it that I just forget, and it's
Sure. So I watched it. I think there's 10 episodes, maybe 13.
I think 10.
I think it only took me a couple more days than the number of episodes, which I wouldn't call that binging, because people watch more than one episode of television, and I know I fucking do. But I had that same feeling, though, as someone who regularly binges TV. I had that same feeling of, okay, I don't think I could watch another episode of that. But I think that that's so perfect for a show that's based in the same world as Cthulhu. I mean, come on. I mean, that shit should bother you. You shouldn't be able to be overexposed to it because it makes you insane. So I think for that reason, concept-wise, it super captured that anyways.
That's totally fair. That's a good assessment. But like, I don't know. It was horrifying, and it was everything I wanted, but there was a hard drawback factor for me. It was hard for me to come back, and there are talks of a second season. I'm all for that. Go ahead and give them a second season. I'll definitely try to watch it, but it's that drawback factor. I don't know if I'm going to actually come back to the second season. I want to. It was definitely very interesting, and if they continue to follow these characters, I'm totally on board for that.
Well, I think while I agree with you while I was watching it, that was the case. But I think now that I've watched all of it, that I could go back and rewatch it much quicker than I watched it. Because
that's fair.
There are some small things that, I did forget by the end of the show that came into play. So I would like to go back and watch it, because Bad Robot always leaving things for me to find. So I do want to watch it again, and I think I'll watch it faster because I know what happens.
It's just, I don't know, it's very hard for me because it's episodic. It's very much similar to Lost, just to compare it to another Bad Robot show where, Lost wasn't episodic, but the flashbacks were.
Right.
The flashbacks didn't always further the story. They furthered the characters. And, they were kind of just like the next week would be like, oh, now we're talking about Jen. Oh, now we're talking about Jack. And here, that's very so much the same way with Lovecraft Country, where, this episode we're going to talk about Ruby. We're going to talk about, we're going to focus specifically on Letty, even though she's always focused on in every episode. This is going to be about her backstory today. And while I love that, I don't know, just that episodic nature of it. This one was more episodic than Lost, whereas Lost, that island experience, everything that's going on is so much constantly progressing. And it's the same with Lovecraft Country, but it progresses differently each episode. It's not always like a forward progression of the same story they've been telling. Sometimes they'll forward it in a different route. I don't know how to talk about it.
It's a different branch of the same story. And at the end, it makes one giant Cthulhu symbol. Yeah, it does. And that's honestly another negative, was the last 2 episodes. I just, even though they are bombastic and very, very fun, I kind of just zoned out for most of what happened. Oh, did you?
I kind of just got absorbed in the chaos of it, and just let the mayhem just play out, and was like, yay, that was so much fun. And I remember the end result, what specifically happens. I just don't remember, the filler fights and everything. They just kind of all became special effects
It did. There
craziness.
was a lot of mayhem at the end there. I did want to talk about one like mechanic that was used throughout the series, and that is the voice. Not the voice. The word of Adam. Is that it? The language of Adam. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone in the show uses to cast spells and stuff. So I think to kind of jump into the plot again a little bit, like we said earlier, it's kind of hard to talk about without giving stuff away. The Freeman family, along with Letty and Ruby, discover that there is magic in the world. And just basically from having that knowledge, they get drawn into the mayhem of the people who are trying to use magic to better themselves. I think that's a very basic synopsis.
Of one of the subplots.
I really liked how dangerous the language of Adam was. And I'm sure that's a characteristic in the Lovecraft stories. I've never read them myself. But
I've only read a few.
The bad things that happen when people fuck up a spell, so good. Like,
right.
Yeah, there is some great moments with that shit. It's harder to talk more about it. I just wanted to mention it, I guess. Yeah.
The magic in this world is really well realized. That's one.
Yes.
That's always like one of the things that we always complain about when somebody tries to tackle magic or time travel is what are the fucking rules? You have to explain the rules or at least have an understanding of the rules. You don't have to like specifically explain them.
Right.
But there has to be, some logic to it. And yeah, they did a great job in this series because the time travel makes sense. The magic makes sense. Spoilers, there's time travel, sorry.
Right. I'll say that the second to last episode, that time travel one was a little bit, but they give a pretty strong reason for it in that Hippolyta episode. That's what I'll say. But it's also kind of it's more flimsy with the rules.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's still really well done, and you can overlook some of the plot holes of it, but like it makes sense how they tell it, and I really enjoyed that because like again, when you're going to handle time travel, it can immediately get confusing for people,
right?
And this show handled it in just the right way. It's like, especially with their magic too, it's just like they explain everything pretty well. They show you the consequences with the language of Adam. And at the same time, they show you the power of that magic. Right. And it's scary. Like that, that's another thing that's great about this show is I don't recall, spoilers, I don't recall ever seeing Cthulhu. But this show doesn't need to show you those otherworldly beasts to incite that fear because they handle it through other ways in the Lovecraft universe.
And spoiler, there are some of those beasts.
There are some.
They did it without them, and then they put them in anyways.
Yeah, but honestly, the one main beast that you see the most of kind of just felt like a Demogorgon ripoff from Stranger Things. Yeah. So whenever it showed up, I was kind of just like, man, like this is your weakest element.
It felt like a pretty low level Cthulhu monster. So, okay, my experience with Cthulhu. Should we talk about this?
No, yeah, go ahead. Carefully, he might be listening.
So we in freshman year met this guy who had a bunch of games, and we liked playing games. It's really kind of how we got to know each other too. And at one point he decided to run an RPG in the Cthulhu world. And oh man, were you ABC Smith that time? I think you were.
Yes, either that or the he was named after a Poe novel or a Poe short story.
Yeah, I thought that was ABC Smith, but
no, it was my doctor character. He was like he was like Albert Einstein, I think, but he had like a very long name from Edgar Allan Poe that I can't remember.
Okay. Well, I played this character named Jonathan De Niro.
Metz. Met.
who was Met. It was Met. Yeah. Met.
Yeah. Yes. His name was Dr. Metzingersting.
That's right.
Yes.
Dr. Met. And I was Jonathan De Niro, an archaeologist. And there was, we went into the basement and there was a knife floating around in the air. And I don't know, this is the first time I had ever played an RPG, which, if you don't know, we do a show called The Adventures in Valagorn.
Yes.
It's fiction based off a campaign that we did years ago.
Currently on hiatus, but when it returns, you better be there for it, Cat Potatoes. It'll be lovely.
Hell yeah. I just gotta keep on writing. That's the problem. When you're producing shit, you stop writing shit, and then you're like, wait, I ran out of shit to produce. So, as I was saying, Jonathan De Niro tries to talk down this floating sword because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm thinking somebody's holding the sword. And our game master thought that was really dumb for some reason. He wasn't very nice to us. I did not talk down the knife. I got attacked. And so when we came across the boss, my character did die. And what I wanted to say is, because I didn't know what else to do, I came back as his brother, Robert De Niro. So,
no relation.
No relation.
Yeah, that was a very funny RPG because you were trying to still maintain a friendship with that guy. I was definitely immediately done with the dude, even though we were signed up to live with him the next year. Oh, it was a weird time college was. But yeah, I had completely resigned to just trolling the fuck out of his campaign, and I don't know, not to knock on him, but at that time he wasn't the greatest of DMs, and I knew how to survive all of his campaigns was just to not get involved with any of the fights, and he wasn't good at involving people in the fights either. He would totally focus on one character he was getting tired of and try to kill them, and
which is not how you run a campaign.
Yeah, no, and I would just stay off to the side. I was like a wizard, sorcerer, doctor dude, and just stay in the background, cast all the spells, and live to fight another day. And eventually, just retired the character because he was getting tired of him. Yeah, Cthulhu. I think that was actually my introduction to Cthulhu too, because I hadn't read Lovecraft at the time. I just liked Stephen King and knew Stephen King had read Lovecraft. Since then, I've read some of the short stories. I've enjoyed a lot of them. There are some very cool, frightening descriptions, but for the most part, it's kind of just dry 1920s language, sure. And it's still good, But I'm really excited to read Matt Ruff's Lovecraft Country because this show was great, man. You're done. Hell yeah!
This show was very intriguing. I've always been intrigued by the monsters and the lore of Cthulhu, but I just know that I would really struggle reading the actual literature. I'll give it a shot sometime in my life. We're still young, and we really don't know how long my polymers last. So we'll just have to see.
Well, the good thing is they're all short stories too. At the Mountain of Madness is only I don't want to give a specific page number, but they're typically around 10 to 40 pages, very short.
It's not bad.
It's just just dry. Right. The descriptions are great though. I really do remember reading the descriptions of some of the elder monsters and being fuck. I really do want to recreate that when I write. But
so besides maybe South Park, this is probably my favorite interpretation of Lovecraft's shit. and I guess I'm kind of blowing into closing statements, if that's okay.
That is fine. That's totally fine.
Okay, I think by what we're saying, this is definitely a full-face show. I'm very tempted to give it a face and a half. Maybe I will. I'll give it a face and a half. Really, out of what I've been watching recently, I think this has been kind of really up there. I've really enjoyed this. I don't know about my wife, but I watched this also with my cousin. She was super confused by it. She was having the hardest time following along. So it is is confusing, especially because they change the focus so heavily each episode. But I love that. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention was his cousin, Diana Freeman, Apollos' daughter, played by Jada Harris. The episode where she gets cursed, that's all I'll say, is great. There's some great horror in there. I think some people would think it might be questionable what they do, but I think the way they used it, because they definitely use, I'll say, like, minstrel might not be the right word, but they use some heavily characterized images to scare her.
Right.
And I think because they were using that image for horror, that it really freaking worked. And it really was
Those
scary.
sequences were terrifying.
Yes.
Like, and when they start off, I agree. It starts off and you do think it's a little questionable at first.
Right.
Because when that scare begins, I think it feels just a tiny bit humorous, and you're just like, this is interesting. I don't know, but it's just like but you're just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, you're kind of thrown off guard, and as it goes on, it just gets under your skin, and it is so unnerving.
It's probably, honestly, for me, was the scariest. Those were the scariest moments.
I give it 3 stars. It's very enjoyable, and I do enjoy the scare behind it. You know, that's very horrifying, and the story is very interesting of all of the characters, and especially the acting is amazing. But it's so hard to come back to. Like, even though I do love everything about it, the fact that it's episodic, like, that's just an immediate turn off for me. Like, I don't know. I like. Even though it's not episodic, you know, even though there is a continuous storyline, it's just, I don't know. I need it to be fully continual focused, I guess. But I made it through it, and I would definitely come back I say definitely come back. I'll definitely try to come back if they do a second season.
You'll watch the season premiere.
Yeah, I'll definitely schedule it. Let's say that.
Some of this stuff really scared me.
I would say the only thing that really scared me was that curse that we just talked about. That's the only thing that really, really got under my skin in regards to horror. But everything else was just a good scare.
Of of Ruby's stuff.
Oh,
that stuff got me too.
But I don't think that stuff scared me. It just unnerved me.
Right.
That stuff was just gross to the point where I was just like, I'm gonna vomit. Like it was terrifying, but it wasn't horrifying. That curse was horrifying. Like, think about that. Like I can't get those damn twins out of my head, man. Like,
I know. They're really scary. I did have a nightmare about it after we watched that episode, but
I did too.
I have to say, like, when that happens, I'm happy. I'm happy because it means that it actually was scary. They found something that actually could still scare this person who thought he was pretty desensitized to these kind of things.
And that definitely also, I don't know how much involvement Jordan Peele had, but that definitely felt like Jordan Peele horror, right? With that curse
from start to finish, really, of that particular storyline.
And the fact that, you know, he and J.J. Abrams, as you said, since they were part of this, it just makes it just it's just a nicer detail on there, because it's like, I love both of them, and the fact that they made this show, and Misha Green as the showrunner is, you know, just a great job. Like, again, great story. I definitely recommend it, but it's not perfect in my opinion. I give it, you know, as I said, 3 stars.
Right. I think that's totally fair. I think it is. Like, there's a lot to love about it, but there are some rough edges. I think I said that earlier.
Yeah.
So, I think that's our show.
I think you're correct, man. I've been the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I have been the Faceless Leone. Safe shadows and good fright.
Ooh.
Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of Fiction Works 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the Fiction Works 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.